Connecting. Okay, we are live.
All right.
Okay, we'll just do a quick introduction. I'm Kevin Lepore from Flatline Comics and the Comics Crowd on Substack.
And I'm Martin Pierro with Cosmic Times everywhere. So yeah, that's me.
Yeah, so we wanted to reconnect with everybody, talk a little bit about what's been going on with the Diamond distribution bankruptcy since we talked. I think it was like 2 weeks ago
Yep.
when we first had a live when we discussed this. So, what have you heard, Martin?
Oh well, it keeps going from bad to worse. The current situation I've heard is that as of April 1st, if they don't find a buyer for Diamond, they're gonna have to start laying people off and working toward going out of business.
Yeah, they've had to make filings with the Maryland Department of Labor because of the potential for actually laying off so many people and closing such a large workplace.
But I mean, what else are they gonna do? You know?
Yeah, it's a scary situation for a lot of people. It's affected their employees, it's affected comic shops, it's affected vendors who are publishers like us or giant, even some larger publishers. I wouldn't say the giants because they all left Diamond a while
Right.
back, but
Well, even publishers who've left Diamond are starting to feel the pinch because of Diamond owing Penguin Random House so much money.
yeah, that was like 9 million or something like that.
Yeah, 9 million, and that's far as I understand, Marvel or Disney, whatever, has got their own counsel now, and they're taking a look at their contract with Penguin to see
Wow.
if there's some recourse there. And the buzz all around right now is the IDW stuff, where they're saying if they don't get the money from Penguin, they don't see themselves staying in business much longer. So
Yeah, and I've seen actual Facebook posts from smaller indie publishers who said pretty much the same thing. Look, we paid to produce and print these comics, we send them to Diamond, and now we may not get paid 2 months later than normal, which is 3 months late anyway. And it's likely that we won't get paid at all because Diamond either won't exist or they'll be protected by bankruptcy and won't have to pay vendors anyway.
yeah, I mean I think the IDW is close to $1 million, but for the smaller press guys like. We know a guy, Roland. I haven't talked to him about it, but I know he puts out one book a month. And if he's been doing it like everybody else does it, he's probably put out about $3,000 in printing
Yep.
costs already that
Yep.
he probably will never see again. And for a small guy, $3,000 is a hard hit.
It's a huge hit, and it's not something that can easily be made up in other places, not
Right.
even through crowdfunding.
Yeah.
You certainly can't make that at conventions.
I was about to say the same thing. There's no way you're pulling down 3,000 at a convention these days.
Not after expenses. No way. No, no. It's a sad situation. It's going to be metamorphic in terms of how the industry is going to look at the other side of this, whether that's this summer or sometime in 2026. Everything's going to be different.
Oh, sure. And also to mention real quick, I have the last previews catalog here, which is January's. The February previews catalog was supposed to ship last Wednesday, and it has not. And as far as I know, it did not ship this Wednesday either. So
Well, that's as telling as anything. I mean,
yeah,
that's the order form.
yeah, it's available online. You can get I did see it's online, but they haven't shipped the catalog. And I hear there's shorts all across the board of books not showing up. So
Yeah, I was reading earlier that a lot of publishers, vendors to Diamond, have decided to stop vending with them until they get paid, which means they're probably not going to be vending with them anymore because they're
right.
probably not going to get paid.
Yeah, I think this is I hate to say it because I think last time we talked I said I hope Diamond comes out the other end of this okay. In the last 2 weeks, it looks like Diamond's not going to be coming out the other end of this, at least not the comic book distribution part.
No, that seems to be the consensus. If you watch YouTube videos by comic shop owners who've been doing this for decades, by publishers that do kind of what we do, or maybe at a slightly larger scale, there's very little confidence. There's very little confidence that Diamond's going to pull through here. And the
Yeah,
numbers are
what?
just astronomical. I mean, they're just soul crushing numbers when you look at the debts that they owe and to whom they owe them. It's wild.
Yeah, and another sad part is I've talked to a few retailers, or at least one that said they're just not going to pay their Diamond bill because they don't think there's, what's the point of paying it at this point?
Right. I
So
mean, they're not going
that's
to get
even
more
hurting
books.
Diamond from the other side. Not that there's much hope for them.
Well, they're not going to get books from them again. I mean,
No.
if vendors aren't supplying them, if they're not shipping the books that they've already sold through the distribution process, well, what's the
No.
point? I mean, I see the logic there. It's sad but true. I mean, I had a shop for 7 years in the aughts, and I can see where that line of thinking comes from.
Yeah, well, also there's the fact too, like publishers or smaller publishers who have books sitting in the Diamond warehouse. When Diamond closes, are they just going to get tossed in the dumpster? What's going to happen to all that product? It's just kind of sitting waiting for the shipment to go out.
That's what I would imagine will happen. That it'll just be trashed. I mean, sad, but I mean, Diamond's never treated vendors' product with the greatest of respect anyway. And in
True.
this desperate situation, I don't expect that to change. I
Which
see a
is
question from Matt at InSymmetry.
oh,
What do you fellows think of Massive Publishing's Lunar Deal and their Lunar Indies program that they just announced yesterday? I think you know more about that than I do, Mark.
Um, I don't want to say okay. I'll just put it out there. What the heck? I think Massive's just doing what Scout just failed at doing, and it's a disastrous business model. It's going to hurt the small guys who sign up, hoping that this is going to be their big cash. Where Massive is just going to use their books to fluff up their catalog.
Yeah, it just keeps
The
them from
whole
having to pay production costs.
yeah, the whole picking up indie publishers thing. I don't or independent creators. I don't think that's a wise business model for either party unless they're
Mm.
actually going to take them on as their own books, and I don't see that happening. So I see it's just Scout 2.0 happening again. I know Massive has their own books they publish. Hopefully they have success with that. But yeah, the other part of that whole thing just seems a little hinky in my book. We just watched Scout implode trying to do the exact same thing, and I don't see it being any different with Massive. Sorry.
And
Hope that
I think we both know the harsh. Oh,
got it.
I think we I think we both know the horror stories of creators that do kind of what we do, who signed with Scout and then ended up having to buy back the inventory that Scout printed
Right.
just to get control of their properties back. And that's just one of the stories that I've heard.
And if
Um,
I haven't, of course, I haven't seen the contracts or anything, but if they're anything like what Action Lab did, oh my gosh,
yeah,
it's that whole unless the publisher is willing to partner with you and really cultivate your product, you're just another small cog in their machine. So, again, no
yeah,
offense to Massive, they put out some good books, but yeah, I don't think this is the saving grace that's being billed as. But again, good luck to them. They got into Lunar, so
yeah, which seems to be tough,
right.
especially now that they can be choosy because they know that they have that ability, they have that leeway.
Well, my thing is like talking to my retailer friends, the two publishers that they're worried about. I'm sorry, yeah, two. Well, we already know Boom's going to Penguin, so the one publisher they're kind of looking at is Dynamite, which is still, as far as I know, exclusive with Diamond. I'm assuming once Diamond liquidates, that contract dissolves, but for right now, they may be bound to Diamond and can't make the move to Lunar until after Diamond
Well,
folds.
that was when I understood that Diamond owed over $800,000 to, which is a
I've
pretty
heard that
penny
too.
for any. I mean, that's crazy. And I also read that some of their books, including their Silverhawks #1 launch, didn't get into stores.
Nope, I did. I finally got my copies. They finally
Okay.
came in, but yeah, it was that was a mess. And again, it's just going to get messier as this goes along.
Yeah, because the money's not going to come out of nowhere for Diamond to keep operations going. And once they realize that they've got to shut down, they're just going to shut down. And
And I also
April
look at
1st or not.
I look at Zenoscope, and they're attempting to do self distribution to comic stores. I don't know any retailer that's going to jump on board with that. I mean,
Are
they
they
put
like
up.
trying to offer terms, or are they doing just a direct through their website sort of thing?
I think it's a terms. I know they tried a thing a little while back. If you buy a standee, they're going to fill it with the trades or something. The
Yeah.
for retailers, so I believe they're trying to distribute directly to retailers as their own distributor with their terms and whatnot. But they publish 4 books a month. They're like $6.99 each, and it plays to a very specific
Yeah.
demographic, specific audience that I don't think comic stores are going to take the chance on.
Yeah, that's a tough proposition. um, on both sides of the equation. Um, hmm.
Yeah, and well, I mean, then let's talk about if you want to jump into it, ICV2, and they pitched their distribution model. What about 2, 3 years ago? God, maybe
I
longer.
think I think it was last year that they actually announced they were going to go live with it, and what they were going to do a games portion and then a comics portion,
Right,
and it ended up taking quite a bit longer than they expected to onboard the games portion of it. And so, what was originally supposed to be like a June launch for the comics version of it has actually been happening the last month or two. And
right,
I actually reached out to them directly because I
okay.
hadn't heard anything, and they onboarded me the next day after I sent
they're
an email.
they're just waiting for you to say
Um,
something.
yeah, they were gonna get in touch with me the following week, is what I was told. So good timing. And it's a super easy process. You have to set up your shipping, and then you set up each individual title. It's very easy to set up the titles, and then they self populate on the page once you set them up through the back end interface. And it is, I mean, it looks nice. It's tight looking interface. I don't know what they're doing to put it in front of shops. And there's really, if you go look at the website, there's not many publishers there. Like once
Well,
I finish populating it, I'll probably have the most books on ICV2 Direct, and that includes like Devil's Due was the one of the other ones I
some of them
recognized.
on there. But I noticed not the newer stuff's on there, so I wonder if they set that up a little while ago or just what. The
Uh,
With the ICV2 thing, I wonder if they're going to be selective with who they put on there, because if they put everybody on there, it'll. I don't know if you remember, 10 years ago, maybe 11 years ago, Barry was talking about taking Indie Planet and turning it. And I think he actually made headway into doing a distribution model for comic shops with
hmm.
the Indie Planet titles. And ultimately, that was just, if I would, for retailers, it's just too overwhelming. There's too much on there. It's hard to select what I should order from my store or not. The So I wonder what if ICV2 is going to cultivate like a front page, like these are the books, these are the newer books, or how that's going to work.
That's going to have to happen for it to be successful. I mean, I agree 100%. But it was the only thing that's really available, and it took some doing to get involved. To be honest, I don't know if they're being selective or not, or if they're just backlogged on getting the work done on their side of things. But it took a lot of doing to get approved. And then once you're in, it's super easy, and there's no other approvals. There's like a I think there's an approval process to make sure you have all the data on each book that's necessary to sell to public to comic shops. But other than that, there's really no other setup,
Right.
and
And
except keeping it current with what your inventory is.
you did all trades, no floppies on that.
Yeah, I just think at our level, it's cheaper to produce trades or print trades at least per page. You know, the unit cost is way lower
Right.
versus what we can charge for retail. And doing it with floppies, they're more likely to get damaged. They cost more to produce versus trades proportionally. It just seems smarter to me. And
I
I
believe
might do some retailer exclusive covers at some point for new stuff, but I don't want to put old floppies on there.
Now, I don't believe that of course, it's still new, but there's not really an interface to order a retailer exclusive or to anything like that, correct?
No, you pretty much just have to title it that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
yeah.
was just I've just scratched the surface in it because when you told me about it, I actually forgot that they were going to be doing that. The
I think a lot of people forgot because they reach out about once every few months, but it was like, hey, we're still on board in gaming, and we're not ready to do comics yet. That's what we're hearing over the summer and the fall.
Well,
And then,
that's the message you get when you go to their website to sign up.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so they just sent out an email mid January saying, we're ready to sign up more comics folks. And if you're onboarded, you can go live now with your product. So that's when I emailed and got the approval. And this week I've spent, 2 or 3 hours putting product in there. And I've got probably another hour left to finish up the inventory I want to have on there. And we'll see how it goes.
Now, I mean, just out of my own curiosity, and maybe other people care about this. I don't know. Are So then, how will you? you're putting your entire catalog on there, correct?
I'm putting the active catalog on there, so you
So,
know,
but when there comes time, so your next new thing won't be for a while then.
I have a few trades coming this year that I'll definitely include on there, and I do have a couple of new launches, new floppies, new series that I'll probably try to do something retailer exclusive cover wise
Okay.
on there. Yeah,
Cool, cool, cool. And that's it's called ICV2 Direct. So if
yeah,
anybody's curious about that, check it out.
yeah, and they pretty
That's
much take a flat 15% fee of any sales that they make, and you set your own discount. So
and if anybody's curious, it's the same guys who used to be Capital Comics Distribution. It's the same guy, right?
I have no
Milton
idea.
Gribb, whatever his name is. Yeah, I think it is. And he's so if anybody knows about distribution, it would be him. Hopefully this catches fire, you know.
So that was late '80s, early '90s when Capital was doing it.
Yeah, I believe ICV2 is I think can't remember his begins with a G. His first name's Milton, and he was Capital Comics, and then or Capital City Comics, and
No,
then he started ICV2 after Diamond took over everything.
yeah, okay,
So
interesting.
hopefully this comes into something. What do you think the chances are of someone buying Diamond at this late hour?
Zero when they could just start their own operation.
Yeah, somebody
You
was
know,
saying that I think it was Ben Dunn. You know, he's just one rant after another on Facebook about the
yeah,
situation, and justifiably, he's been in business for a long time, and he's looking at some rough waters ahead. But
yeah.
he was hypothesizing that Lunar might buy Diamond, but after they totally fold and they're liquidating, buy it as a pennies on the dollar to get their warehouses and their pretty much their distribution avenues.
That makes sense. But they're already set up. I'm not sure what they're gonna benefit from with they're not getting the Diamond UK and Alliance parts of it, which are really the extra things they don't already do.
Kind of what my thoughts were too. That
Yeah,
there's really no upside in outside of being the White Knight and Lunar
no,
doing anything with Diamond. Again, there's just not enough money in the business
no.
to buy it. Like if I had
They're-
I don't know $20 million, I would still wouldn't buy it.
Well, if Lunar, for example, already has the infrastructure set up, they don't need to buy new infrastructure. They don't need to buy new leads or contacts. It's already there. I mean,
Right.
people are trying to jump ship to them. They
Yeah.
can just watch Diamond go down. Why save the ship
Exactly.
when you can just rescue the passengers? You know.
Yeah. There's no. I mean, I hate to say it, as a small press publisher, there's no value in picking up all the small press guys that are in the Diamond catalog for Lunar. It's more hassle than it's worth.
That's true. They can cherry pick. I was reading something earlier before we got on the live that still about 21% or so of comics sold to comic shops are independent comics and not just from the big publishers. So there still is a market there. But how much of those are just a few choice publishers, at the top end of that indie comics
Yeah,
tree?
when people talk indie comics, I'm like, are they counting Image in that
Right.
number? Because
Right.
they have like the top selling books right now with those Energon books. So
Yeah, which they aren't indie because they're not Marvel or DC. They're they're still a huge corporation at this point.
like, I don't consider Dark Horse, Image, IDW, even
No,
Dynamite as quote unquote indie because
no.
they have money backing them. I mean, I think IDW is on the market. Well, they used to be
Right.
before they.
Dark Horse is owned by a European megacorp, so I
Right.
mean,
Yeah. So at the end of the day, I mean, I think the biggest indie publisher. Who would you say? Zenoscope. I mean, now that Boom has been bought by Penguin, um, Dynamite's really owned by Dynamic Forces. So
yeah, it's got to be somewhere in the Zenoscope neighborhood at the
yeah.
top end. Yeah, just in terms of volume of sales, it's got to be somewhere around there.
And Zenoscope chose not to try to go to Lunar. They tried to do it, themselves. Unless Lunar said no, I don't know. But interesting times. Yeah.
Well, you're going to go from one monopoly that used to exist to another in essence at this point, especially for the indie comics market, where Diamond was the only option. Now you're going to have to beg, plead, and whatever else to get Lunar to give you the time of day, and they can set whatever number they want because they're going to be the only game in town. Because Penguin Random House is sure as hell not giving us any
Right.
leeway. giving us any access to their distribution.
No, it's
So
not, especially not at our level. If you're putting out 1 or 2 books a month, if that, that yeah, Penguin's
no.
got some time for you. The So yeah, so where does that leave guys like us, Kevin?
Well, it leaves me right where I've been the whole time. So I never did. You and I collaborated on a series that we distributed through Diamond once or two, a
It
one
was only
shot
one
and then a
shot.
series, and that all went great. But I've never plunged in on my own, and
Well,
I'm
again,
still
even that, the money we made barely covered printing costs. It's
right.
like it's hard. It's really hard to make money in this business,
It's
especially like
intimidating.
not. Yeah,
Yeah, when we were talking about trying to reclaim, you were talking earlier about a publisher trying to reclaim 3 grand from what they lost to Diamond on a shipment of books that's never going to get sold, that they're never going to get paid for. That's devastating for people like us. You're
right.
just trying to break even to make comics as somebody who loves making comics.
But then that goes is crowd. I mean, they've said it for years. Is crowdfunding the future of comics?
Well, it's a big part of the present of comics, and I think it will be a big part of the future of comics. But it can't be the be all end all because
I agree.
there's no you're still stuck with and I say stuck, you're still blessed with a small audience that supports you. And without those people, I could make comics. I couldn't make any comics now without going into horrible debt. But as it is, we're able to make comics, and we make better comics than we did 5 years ago because of crowdfunding and the support of people that are crowdfunders. But to take that next step into distribution, if it wasn't scary before, it's terrifying now.
Yeah.
Terrifying because the people that we know that are going to lose their asses on this diamond deal because they're not going to see their books back that they paid to print. They're not going to get paid for the ones that were sold because they're probably not even getting delivered to the comic shops that bought them
Right.
in the first place.
They're sitting in the warehouse somewhere.
It's a sad state of affairs. Like you said, they're probably just going to get trashed at some point when after April 1st, when Diamond lays everybody off and closes shop.
But then something I think we talked about last time is the cascading effect of that. Let's say if I'm a small press publisher, I got terms with my printer. They're going to give me 30 days to pay my printing cost. I'm already 60 days behind with Diamond.
Yep.
When Diamond doesn't pay me, I don't have the money to pay my printer. So I'm
Yep.
going to get in trouble with the printer. The printer's not going to get paid. They're going to slip further into their own debt. I mean, this is,
Yep.
and not to mention a lot of these publishers, like say Zenoscope or Band of Bards and all those guys who are printing with these smaller print houses. Once Diamond stops carrying their books, they're going to stop making those orders, and those print houses are going to suffer financially. And they've already ordered their stock for the whole year,
That's
expecting to
right.
have sold all these comics, or printed all these comics. So the cascading effect is going to be huge. Some of these smaller printers, I mean, I probably should give Rich a call, see how he's doing down in Comic Impressions, because he was printing for Scout. Now Scout's
Yeah.
pretty much gone. He might have been printing for Source Point, I'm not sure, but he was printing for these smaller publishers that are now going away or have already gone away. So he's got to be feeling the crunch. Um, and it just keeps trickling down.
Yeah, it's the fallout is going to be wild over the next 6 to 12 months. I think we're going to see complete changes. There's going to be a lot of people that were making comics that aren't going to be making comics. Are they going to be making them very differently than they
Right.
have been?
And
These,
then that also leaves artists looking for work too. I didn't think about that.
yeah, yeah, um, because people that were barely slipping by and being able to pay artists a decent page rate, they're not going to be able to do that anymore.
Right.
Because I think some of these upstart publishing houses like Source Point, Scout, and others like that were stepping way over what they were really able to afford to produce these books and then to print and move these books out. And when you get into a situation like this where the money stops flowing in a cash flow type of business like this,
Right.
it's disastrous.
Right. With our profit margins this thin already. So
Yeah, yeah. With printing costs going up and the sales margin, I mean what the commission that you're paying to the distributors going up, it's impossible, and it's going to go up now because Lunar, they've already informed shops that they're going to have to they're getting a lower discount on image comics that are coming through them. That's the thing that happened as a result of the bankruptcy. And so everybody's feeling the squeeze, including the comic shops.
Wow, man, this really got depressing real fast, didn't it?
Well, I think, you know, we can continue doing what we do because we aren't in the middle of the fire right now, and I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful that we didn't get caught in the middle of this with inventory at Diamond, and can continue to make comics at the level that we make comics. We just have to hunker down and be conservative in terms of our finances, in terms of our output, and make good decisions on both fronts.
Yeah, I was hoping to expand a little bit this year, though.
I was too. I talked to a friend about the potential of working together for Diamond, and it was just I'm glad I never overcame my fear of taking that stuff. It was justified. So
So where should we put our chips, man? Crowdfunding right now? That's where all the chips should go, or
that's where it's got to be right now. The cost of cons has gone so up so much. Being profitable at a con is, if you include the cost of producing comics and printing comics, is uh, is laughable.
well,
Of actually
yeah,
coming out ahead.
I would say the profitability at cons have. I mean, I know from when you and I first met at Heroes all those years ago, I was doing okay at conventions. I mean, I
Hmm.
wasn't covering my costs 100%, but I was doing much better than I'm doing now. I'm more established now. I have a larger fan base,
Yep.
and I'm having a harder time. Just I came out in the black on the last show I did, uh, Central Florida Comic Con, but barely. Sales were down from the year before. So
Yeah. Well, I'm sure you've experienced this too, but we quit doing most cons because we saw our sales go up about 400%, and we were still able to make less profit because the expenses related to travel, to cons, to setting up, to just exhibiting went up so much that we weren't able to make any of it back, and it just wasn't worth it anymore. We
but
were
there is
selling
a
better and losing money.
well, your product line got better, but there is a with those boxes and everything. There is a your price point, I should say, got better. The
Mhm.
but there is a truism to doing conventions and getting out in front of people. I see you're going to Huntsville again this year for the first time in a while.
Yeah, and so I'm hoping we'll be back at Infinity Con in Tallahassee, and there's a hometown show called Azalea City Creative Con that's in the fall that I hope we'll get back to as well. So, yeah, we'll be doing a few more than we did last year for sure.
No big shows though.
I'm not at this point. No, not at this
Maybe,
point. So,
maybe we'll get to Heroes this year. You said maybe, maybe.
we're talking about coming up there. I'm not sure if we're going to set up though, but we're talking about going to Heroes in a different capacity.
You're just coming
So,
as fans.
just coming to what?
Coming as fans.
Coming as fans, but also to maybe meet up with some people we know through Substack now. Uh, just kind of network a little bit.
Cool. That's what that show's the best for. I tell everybody if you want to
It
network,
is.
Heroes Con.
It is. And we've missed it. So I think we are going to plan to come up there. So I see a comment from Matt. It says, forget Diamond. What is it you're excited about headed into 2025?
Ugh. What are you excited about, Kevin?
I've got a couple of new series that I'm starting this year. We're winding down some of our original series that we've been working on for a decade plus.
No,
And
not
so
the
I'm
Vicious
excited to get.
Circus.
Well, not completely this year. Vicious Circus will continue for a couple of years, but I did finish up the Christmas issue, the Christmas series, and the Halloween series. So I'll be collecting those this year. But we are dropping at least two brand new series this year. One that I'll be
Nice.
announcing in the next month and a half, 2 months maybe. And so I'm excited to go into a new phase of publication for us, a new phase of content. Very excited about that.
Maybe get those old juices flowing again. Get excited about comics.
Yeah, flex some muscles, some creative muscles we haven't, on something brand new.
I love
And
it.
starting from scratch on something with what we've learned over the past 15 years, and the experience and talent that we've grown over that time, rather
Nice.
than continuing to build on what we started with.
Sounds good, man.
So what are you excited about?
Oh, me. Well, I was. I got real excited in November, December. I took those months off actually, and just focused on what I was going to do for 2025, which Diamond was supposed to be a big part of. The I didn't think they were
Well,
going to go bankrupt.
they are,
The,
just not the way you anticipated.
but I had goals set for each month. I hit my goal for last month. So my goal for this month, I don't want to say what it was because it doesn't come to pass. But I'm
Sure.
working hard to expand the brand. The Obviously, you know, I've talked to you about this before. I have tons of scripts that I need to put artists on, but I've had this trepidation. I guess it came true with I was right about this diamond situation, just about where the industry was balancing last year. The I might put those into production finally. You edited one. The And like I said, trying to expand the brand, trying to make it a little more than what I've been doing for the last 15, 16 years.
Yeah.
uh, I got a little bored. Got a little bored with what I'm doing. Like you say, try stretch some different muscles, try some new things.
Hmm.
I got a bunch of emails out right now. Fingers crossed, I'm going to get a positive response on some of those. But yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. And each month this year, I've tried to set different goals for myself. So hopefully that will keeps me motivated to keep doing this. Oh, also PalmCon. I got PalmCon coming up in April. It's a small 1 day one down on the Boca Del Rey line, and then I got my bigger one I'm doing in Fort Pierce, Port St. Lucie, at on November 8th and 9th. So yeah, I got
Okay,
that
cool.
always. So like I said, I was on a panel recently at Central Florida Comic Con. I've made comics my life. I publish comics. I run comic cons. I work with comic shops. So that's why I don't want this to go away. This is kind of all I do now, you know. And my
Yeah,
daughter's about to go
absolutely.
off to college. So what am I going to have left after that? You know.
Well, I retired to do this, and so I feel that I completely relate on that level.
You retired to do this, now you're ready to retire from this.
No, I'm not ready to retire from this. I love doing this.
Yeah, me
Even
too.
with the perils associated with it, I absolutely love it. It was the right decision.
No, it's back to the whole thing. I mean, you mentioned the word excitement. As much as I hate what's happening to the industry, it's an exciting time. Like we don't know what the next 6 months are going to look like. That's kind of exciting to me. It's scary but exciting. So that's kind of fueling me to stay interested and more involved. So
Yeah, it's going to be transformative, and staying on top of all that and reacting to it in the right ways is going to be critical.
I know we got a little negative here, but I'm not feeling negative about what the future holds. I'm just got to be ready to
Cautious,
pivot with it. You know? Yeah.
cautious. All right. Well, I think we've about covered the bases for what's been going on recently, and what we can try to do about it for our own operations. But
Right.
we'll keep in touch with it, and we'll check in again in a week or two.
Yeah. When the whole thing will be different in 2 weeks. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Who knows? All right,
All
Martin, I
right.
appreciate it.
Take care.
You too.
What do I do?